So that officially starts. And then I'm going to share my screen so that we can get going with talking about passion fruit today. So hopefully you've seen, you can see the image of that passion fruit. Hopefully you can hear me. So I will start with my traditional introduction for this seminar, which entails saying good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jorge Ochoa, and I am addicted to fruits. Passion fruit, that is. And my addiction started with the fruit that you see on the screen, or the plant that you see on the screen. That was my introduction to the passion flowers, which that's how I started, but eventually the fruit became also an interest. And so when I came across this passion vine, then I came across the fruit. The fruit that's going to be orange in color, and inside it's going to be red with seeds and pulp. And so as I did some more research, as I started to become more knowledgeable on passion fruit, then I came to realize and learn that it was edible. And when I tasted it, it's edible, but it wasn't that good. And so as I looked at the literature, many of the folks, authors from the literature would say, well, yeah, it's edible, it's really good. It tastes like cranberry. Like, that does not taste like cranberry. So one of the things that I'm going to caution you is the literature that it's going to tell you that a fruit tastes like. It tastes like that. What I'm going to caution you is that you should not be asking or looking for fruit or what it tastes like, because your taste buds are going to be different than everybody else. What I really want to know is if this fruit tastes as good as whatever is being compared with. So do not compare pineapple with passion fruits because they're two very different plants. Do not compare any fruits to any other thing. So if you're going to be judging fruits, judge the passion fruit together, judge the apples and the mangoes together. Don't judge them against other fruit. So I want to know if this specific passion fruit is as good as a mango, not it tastes kinda like mango, because I know what that kinda really means. And so as I started growing different types of passion fruit, people kept asking me, well, which is the best tasting one? I'm like, well, I don't know. Which is the better one? I don't know. And so as I started to develop this presentation, it was necessary for me to create what I like to refer to as the Jorgito test rating. That's going to be me, keeping in mind that this is my taste buds that might be different than yours. And like any other scientific experiment, you're welcome to dispute it. You're welcome to challenge it. That's fine. But at the end of the day, this is Jorgito's test rating for this presentation. And the rating is going to include super yuck, which means do not eat. I know there are many folks that say, oh, I'll eat any fruit. And in the case of passion fruit, don't, because there will be poisonous passion fruits. There has been incidents of children dying. If you look at the literature, passion fruits are considered poisonous, or at least the vines. So it's important for you to know which ones are edible and which ones are not. So if they don't taste good, you probably shouldn't be eating them. So category number one. Category number two is going to be yuck, which means butter and sugar, please. You can make a pie out of anything. You add a bunch of sugar and you add a bunch of butter, it's going to be delicious. And if you add some pineapple and maybe some coconut, whoa, it's going to be really good. So I don't necessarily go for this. I would like to concentrate and focus on fresh fruit rather than canning them, pickle them, or putting a bunch of sugar that is going to be delicious because all you're going to be tasting is going to be the sugar and not actually the fruit. But there will be some fruits that are just not going to be good at all. The ones that are going to be okay, which translates to not the best, but you know what? I don't have to spit it. I can still swallow it. It's fine. I don't have to eat it again. Or as we get better, there's going to be the yum category, which is going to be, I like this one. This one is good. I can live with this one. I can grow it. I can see myself having a plant or two and harvesting some more. Or it's going to be the best category, which is going to be the super yum category, which is you got any more, the ones that you can never have enough. And unfortunately, they're going to be in very short supply. So this would be the rating that I'm going to be using for the many passion fruits that I have come across. And so as we look at the passion fruit, here is one that is very common. We will talk about it in a lot more detail later on. But what I want to show is more of a very common passion fruit and one that is poisonous. And for a very long time, I could not understand why. How can somebody make a mistake of eating a poisonous passion fruit until field work? You have to be out in the field. This one came from Chiapas. We found it, we were going to eat it, but then when we cut it open, we realized the pulp is orange. That's not normal. And then realized, whoa, this is not what we're thinking. This is the poisonous passion fruit. And they're going to be poisonous primarily when they're green. If they ripen or if they're mature and they're fully ripened, they're going to be safe. But it is during that period when they're not ripened or green that they're going to have a higher content of a toxin that can potentially kill you. So this would be a poisonous passion fruit that you should not eat. But the real culprit of the fruit, the plant that killed the children in Venezuela, is this individual that I saw it in Colombia. It's purple, and I picked it up. It's already fully ripened. And I put it for scale in one of the more common edible purple passion fruit. And so now I can understand for a child, for somebody who is not really knowledgeable, or they just see a purple fruit that they were given by their parents. All of a sudden they find it, they eat it, and then they become poisoned and they go to the hospital. And when we opened it, then we see something very different. The pulp is orange. And even though this one is now ripened, I taste it, it's good. If it's unripened, when the pulp is kind of whitish, then it becomes poisonous. And so other than those few that are going to be poisonous, then we have a very large selection of edible passion fruits. Many of them are going to be found in cultivation in Central and South America. A few you might have or you might find, and others, well, we're still looking for them, and hopefully we'll bring them into cultivation at some point in time. And that's where we're going to be talking about the edible passion fruits that are going to be out there. So these are the different topics that we're going to be covering today. General introduction to the plant so that you can understand as I keep on talking. The anatomy of the plant, pollination becomes really important as you are venturing into more tropical, more exotic fruits. Then pollination becomes a lot more important. And then we're going to be looking at the different passion fruit vines, or the different fruits that you can come across. So if we look at the history, it is from South America, and it was the Spanish when they started exploring that eventually discovered it and became popular. Later on, it was introduced into Hawaii. People believe that Hawaiian lilikoi is from Hawaii, but it is not. It is from Brazil, South America, introduced later on and became a staple of Hawaii, just like pineapple, which is also not from Hawaii. But it was in Hawaii in the 1800s. Now in Australia and New Zealand has a big passion fruit production, commercial production. And then later on into Central and South America, which now also has a very large passion fruit production. When we look at the origin of the passion vines, Central and South America would be the main one for the fruits that are going to be edible. There's a few native to Asia, Southeast Asia, which are not edible, and a few from Australia that are not the best, but they're edible. But the best passion fruit, the flavorful ones, are going to be from Central and South America. And this is where you're going to find them because their vines, they're going to be opportunistic. They're going to wait for clearings, fallen trees, so that they can climb and reach the sunlight and be able to grow. So sometimes they're going to be crawling or climbing or weeping over some other plant. That's a good thing. And if we find them, then it's an opportunity for us to document it, bring it into cultivation, and start sampling the fruit that might be out there. And so we have the stem of the plant. In most cases, is going to be a vine or a vining plant. We're going to have the tendril, which the plant is going to use for climbing and holding itself. We're going to have the leaf, different forms, different shapes, really important. Then we're going to have the flower. Obviously, we want flowers if we want fruit. And in rare cases in the wild, as in this photograph, we have the fruit. In this case, it's a rare thing to find fruit in the wild because there might be a lot of animals who wake up a lot earlier than you that may want to eat the fruit before you wake up. And if we look at the flower, then we have a few other important components. We have the column that will become really important later on. We have the anther, the male component that has the pollen. We're going to have the petals and sepals. Then we're going to have the corona, now a bad word, made up of different filaments. So the corona for the passion flowers. And then we're going to have the stigma, the female component, which becomes important for the fruit. And behind the stigma, we're going to have the ovary, which also becomes really important. If we fast forward time, then we have the fruit. The ovary has now matured into the fruit. The petals and the sepals become non-functional, just the remnants of them. The column becomes the stem that is holding the fruit from the vine. And at the bottom, we have the remnants of the stigma that is no longer functional. And when we have a fruit and we cut it in half, we're going to have different areas. Area number one is going to be the pulp. That is where the juice is going to be found. That is going to be the edible component of most of the fruits. Associated with the pulp are going to be seeds. Depending on the plant, the seeds are going to be in different sizes. And sometimes the seed to pulp ratio is so high that the fruit it becomes really bad. Not the flavor, but the fact that there's so much seed that you're going to be eating 90% seeds, 10% pulp, and that's not fun. And depending on the fruit, some of them may have a very thick rind that you can potentially cook it up and it tastes like marrow and you can eat it as a vegetable if you want. Or saute it and work with it in different forms. So in a few species, you can't eat the rind of the passion fruit if it's thick enough. And here's just for scale with a dime, just the different sizes and shapes of the seeds that you're going to find within the passion fruits. And when you're going to eat the fruit, you can eat it fresh, as Rick said. This is the one that I want to focus. I cut it from the vine. I'm going to eat it fresh. Cut it in half, scoop the pulp with a spoon and enjoy it. Regarding the seeds, you can chew them. It gives the fruit a nice grittiness to it. You can swallow them or you can spit them. You can have some passion fruits growing in your yard. Or if you want to go through the labor of separating the pulp from the seeds, then you can strain it, beat them up, take away a highly concentrated juice that you can later use for cooking, for making drinks, or for anything else that you might want. So either processed or fresh fruit, that's how you can eat the plant or the fruit. And regarding pollination, around here we have the larger carpenter bees. Most of the honeybees are going to be way too small for passion fruits. So the carpenter bee or bumblebees, the larger insects, will be the best pollinators. So here's a carpenter bee with the blue. Here's a bumblebee with a white flower. Here's a non-edible passion fruit, but at least the smaller ones can become pollinated by a bee. Or in South America, here is a bee, native bee, that is the perfect pollinator for this passion fruit. Or perhaps maybe by accident, we have here a native tiny bee or a native bee that while walking around the stigma could potentially deliver the pollen and bring about pollination to the flower. What is also important in regards to passion fruit is that many of the purple and or the reds or the yellows are going to be protandrous, which means that the male component, the pollen, is going to be available first. And so the stigmas on this plant flower are up because they're non-functional or non-receptive right now. So first, the plant wants the pollen to be taken away from this plant to prevent selfing. And then in a few hours, now the stigmas are going to drop, and now they're going to be taking the pollen, hopefully from a very different plant. In very rare cases, I'm going to say with most of the unusual passion fruits, they're going to be self-incompatible, which means that you might have to have two different species to be able to get the fruit. Otherwise, I have grown one single plant and I have never gotten the fruit because I don't have a compatible pollen. The common purple reds are going to be selfing, so they don't care. It doesn't matter. But as you are venturing away from the common purples or red, then you will have to have a compatible plant that will also synchronize the flower or flowering time. So then it becomes a little bit more challenging, which means that you may have to engage in hand pollination. Now you are going to be the bee. Luckily for passion fruits, it is very simple since the stamens and the stigmas are very separate. So you take the stamen from one flower and then you take the pollen and deposit on the stigma. And then if you do the opposite, and if they're compatible, then you would get the fruit. So hand pollination, I do it all the time. It's also something that you might do if you call it labor intensive, then yes, it is. But you have to do it if you want to sample some of the more unusual fruits that you may come across. Then you get an assortment of different passion fruits. So here is just a sample from my trip to Ecuador. Here is another sample of different fruits that I have grown here in Southern California, just to show you the size and the shapes and the sizes and color for the different fruits. The more common one is going to be the purple or the Passiflora edulis. And this is a wild form. So in a trip to Brazil, where the plant is native to, we came across this individual. And so what we also need to take into consideration is the human factor. People have been selecting passion fruit for many years now. We want the sweet one. We want the big ones. We don't want the tart one. We want the one that sells. And so as we have now shaped them and we find some of these wild forms like, oh, this looks different. It's kind of not as ornate or beautiful because we have selected that. So keep in mind the human factor. What changes have we done to the plants? And so finding this wild form of probably how the original purple passion fruit looked like gave us some really nice insight. We have the nice corona, not very long. And then it was just growing on top of a rock by the beach on the sun, full sun. It's like, whoa, interesting. Not even climbing, just falling wherever it could. And we saw that it had purple or black glands. Ooh, interesting. We had no idea some of the wild forms had any of this. What you are familiar with is going to be this one. This is now the cultivated purple passion fruit. And so when I started this talk and I started getting more into passion fruit, I got approached by the American Horticulture Society, and they were saying, can you please describe the different passion fruit varieties that are out there? And like, what do you mean? The California Red Fruit Grower publishes an assortment of different varieties that are out there. They've done it for years. Like, correct, but officially, nobody has done the work for the American Horticulture Society. And so we did. So in 2013, I think we published in the American Horticulture Society the real names for the different passion fruits, because as you know, some of them are kind of misspelled and run a bunch of other things. But I can tell you something, most of these are not going to be found anymore unless somebody has really kept up with them. They were made up, created, they were sampled, they were delicious, and if the plant died, then they go away. And people can like, where can I find this? Like, I don't know, I've never seen it. But at least we have records of how, or of some of the passion fruits that have been out there. So if you ever come across one, let me know. I do ask for a certificate of authenticity because people like to call things whatever name they want, and they might not be authentic. But the purple passion fruit is definitely a very good one. If you say, what is the best passion fruit for eating fresh out of the vine? The purple passion fruit. It's sweet, it's tart, and you're going to get over 200 fruits per vine. It also sells. It's going to get big. What's also important for you to know is that passion fruits are going to flower in current growth, or like the new growth, the tips. And so it is important for you to let the vine grow big, let it flower, get the fruit, harvest the fruit, and then you can prune it back. But do not prune it during the blooming period because you're going to be sacrificing your fruit yields. And so here is the flowers and the fruits as they are maturing. There is some of the fruits that I happen to pick up from the ground. There is the fruit that you can then cut in half and scoop the pulp. And this is how you would serve it if you were having it in your next party. And then, yes, definitely this is going to be a super yum category. What is also important for you to know about passion fruit is that once the fruit has separated from the vine, they're going to begin to lose water from the rind. And they're going to give them this wrinkle prune-like appearance. So what's important is that the flavor inside, unless it's a really old fruit, is not going to be affected by having the rind just wrinkle. And sometimes it's best to let them wrinkle a little so that there's a higher concentration of sugar and the fruit becomes a lot sweeter than when you eat it fresh. So a few things that we have discovered with some of the plants as we keep growing them and sampling them. And if we look at commercial production for fresh fruit, this is Colombia. So they are grown in the field, but they're protected. They're looking for a perfect fruit, not with blemishes and nothing like that. So they have to be protected from the environment. They are going to use what is referred to as a curtain style. So the plants are going to be allowed to grow on a wire, and everything else above is going to be cut, and only a few branches that are going to be allowed to drape are going to be the fruiting, or what's going to be allowed for fruiting. This allows for an easy harvesting, and they're A for scale. And when they're going to be harvested for commercial production, is going to be harvested at about 70% color. Because once they are harvested, then they're going to go into the packing house, then they're going to get into a boat, and 15, 20 days later, they're going to find themselves in Europe, England, Asia, hopefully fully ripened by then, and in full color and ready for the market. So for commercial production, 70% color is the standard. For you, if you're growing them at home, I will recommend that you let them fall from the vine naturally. So don't pick them, let them fall, shake the vine, whatever falls is already set, ready, and it's probably going to be at the peak of sweetness, or just let it sit for a day or two to wrinkle a little. Nurseries around here in Southern California that are going to be selling passion fruit in 5-gallon containers. I can tell you the price for the vines have gone way up, but somebody's doing the work. So here's just areas where people have planted passion fruit just growing on top of a fence. Same thing here, just let it cascade over. covering the fence, taking big area, or whatever structure. The plant doesn't care, whatever you want to, wherever you want to grow it. Here's on some bars for the window. It looks very nice, and it's flowering. And over here as a cardboard cover, it can definitely be a very nice plant, or in any kind of wall, as long as it has the means for climbing. The passion fruit can grow very nicely, and this one is even fruiting. And or containers. So yes, passion fruits will grow very nicely and will flower and fruit, not giving you as much yields as if they were in the ground. But if you have a container and you want to grow it in container, the largest container, the better. And they can be very nice and you can be successful with growing them. Here they're using a palm just as a climbing structure. Here is where they put them climbing over a palm just to hide it. And even just a trash bin. Plants, passion fruits don't care what containers you grow them, as long as they just get a little bit loving and water, and that's fine. I am going to caution you with the many passion fruits that are out there being sold by the name of Frederick. And that is because Frederick, when it was first developed in the 80s, it became the first red. And yes, the first red was bigger, it was selfing, it was juicier than the purple one, and so it became an immediate sensation. The original Frederick is probably dead. And so many growers, what happens is that they just take the seeds from whatever big red they have, and they grow them, and they kept selling them as Frederick, as Frederick, as Frederick. All the plants that are coming from seeds are not the original Frederick. They're just a red. And I can tell you right now, with the more selection that people have done, whatever red you're growing is good enough, or is going to be as good as the original Frederick. Because when the Frederick came out in the mid 80s, it was the better of the reds, or the first red. So I don't doubt that it became the sensation. But this is where somebody tells me, I have the Frederick. Do you have a certificate of authenticity? No, well, then you probably don't. And so, but it's a red, and say Frederick if you wish. It's going to be a larger red that you can cut in half. Yes, it's selfing. Yes, it's nice. Yes, it's good. Yes, it's sweet. So if you wish a red, whatever Frederick is out there that you can buy, go for it. Ask for a certificate of authenticity. And so we have a purple color passion fruit that has lost a lot of the deep purple, and it has gotten more into the red. And that is it. Through the hybridizing and selection, that's how the red became the dominant color, and that became the Frederick. This is some of the passion fruits that I've seen growing out there. This is a very dark, almost black passion fruits. And yes, that is a very high price. So my suggestion is to grow your own plant. You can get 200 fruits out of one plant, or you can pay $3, $4, $5 for a single fruit. And I can tell you it's probably really bad. But here is a dark purple that I saw. And obviously, I don't really care about the fruit. I definitely want to taste, but I care about the seeds. And in this case, the seeds were separate from the pulp, which made it very nice, because it's kind of a hassle to separate the pulp from the seeds. So in this case, having the seeds already separated from the pulp, yeah, which leads us to maybe eventually we may get a seedless passion fruit that you don't have to worry about the seeds, and just get a bunch of pulp and a lot of juice. But anyway, here's a step in the right direction for this passion fruit. And then you may be able to find possum purple online. So they do sell plants. So a while back, I was able to grow it. So there is holding it for scale. It's a little bit purplish red. And there's the inside of this fruit. And there's the pulp. Or red rover, which may be out there as well. It's a little bit bigger. And that's the inside of the fruit. What makes them better is that the seeds are not as hard. So when you chew them, your teeth are not going to hurt, or at least not as much. And so that makes them a little bit better. And the seeds are also a little bit smaller, so you're not going to be eating as much seed as the other. And just for scale, I have the Red Rover here. I have the standard Frederick that you can get from the store. And I have the Possum Purple here just for scale. And then when we cut them open, this is just the difference in the pulp and the seed ratio. Just for educational purposes, I swear, this is the fruit, how it looks. And that's how the rind is going to look. So like I said, I did not enjoy eating the fruit. It was just for educational purposes. And then in traveling to Colombia, I came across Pink Passion out of Australia. There's some breeders out there. There's going to be a lot of different passion fruits that are going to be coming from there. I think they're keeping them, but keep your eyes open. So this one is from Australia or developed in Australia. Pink Passion, there it is when I went, and it was a little bit green, so not really ready. But in a very different trip, I was able to find it fully ripened. So there I'm holding it for scale. And this is the inside. So there is a lot of juice and a lot of pulp. Here it is in comparing for with the common purple one that you would see out there just for scale. So you can compare the size. And so then from the purples and some of the reds, we have the golden or the Flavicarpa. This would be a little bit more tropical. So if it gets too cold, it might suffer a little. And these ones do not sell. So this is where if you want to grow the lilikoi or the golden passion fruit, you may need to have several of them so that you can have the pollen from a different genetic individual to be able to hand pollinate them or get them to set fruit. So here is in Ecuador, so growing out in the field with chocolate. Here it is, the color. This one now is from Colombia. And they're using the arbor type methods. So the workers can harvest the fruit from underneath, or they can walk underneath the vines, and they'll make it easy for picking. Here's some of more of the standard trellising. And there I am holding next to the vine for scale. And here is just some of the different sizes and shapes. So I have, as I travel through different parts of South America, I have seen small ones, big ones, medium ones, and different sizes all mixed together. They're all grown from seeds. And so obviously there will be a lot of diversity within every single field. And so it is not uncommon to see a lot of these forms and shapes. And as you travel through different parts of the world, they might have their own specific favorite. So this little tiny one is the Puerto Rican and Cuban favorite. It's very small, it's very tart, but that is what the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans like. And so when I went to Cuba, I was able to find it. And yeah, it's puckering and it's very small. You cut it in half, it's very flavorful, but in different cultures, different areas, you might have the liking for certain specific one. In this case, I've gotten folks from Puerto Rico, like, I don't want any of them. I want this little tiny one that you only find in this island. Like, wow, we have it. Or in Mexico, these are some of the ones that you may find in the market, a little bit green, but they'll eventually turn yellow. So those would be the Mexican, or this would be in Brazil. So a lot bigger. Brazil is one of the larger producers of the golden passion fruit. And this is in Brazil. Inside, the pulp is going to be yellowish in color, and it is going to be very tart. So much so that it's okay. Unless you like tart fruit, this is going to be way too sour. And so, however, the pulp is going to be high, the amount of pulp, the juice is going to be high. So what is the best thing to do is you take the pulp, you add a little bit of sugar or cream or something else to make it more flavorful, and then it becomes a very, very good passion fruit. And so the golden passion fruit is the one that is going to be used for whatever product. So here's oatmeal and passion fruit, or oatmeal flavored passion fruit. Here we have yogurt, although it has the purple one for the photo. For marketing, it's actually the golden passion fruit that is used for this, and or some vinaigrettes, and or some passion fruit bars, sorbet, and the famous Hawaiian Palilikoi chiffon pie, which is definitely very, very good. And now more common is going to be the juice or the passion fruit drink. And it's nothing more than the pulp or the concentrate. In this case, they have allowed the seeds to remain and just a little bit of sugar. And yes, this becomes a very, very good drink. And so here is just me holding a golden passion fruit that I've grown here in Long Beach. And I want to show you the gold in comparison to some of the reds or the Fredericks that you're going to find out there. The possum purple, and some of the more standard purplish that you might find out there. And here's just for scale with the common orange that I showed in the beginning of this presentation. And some of the larger golds that I have found, come across. This one is in Colombia. So here I'm holding it for scale. And when you cut it open, there is a lot of juice. And this one happened to almost be tolerable by me since I don't like sour stuff. So I could drink it, suffer a little, but it was getting sweeter. So just a little bit more work may change just that. And in Colombia, these are just some of the standard fruits that you see. The golden one that is often mixed with a red one. And this would be the standard purple from that you normally find in the stores in Colombia. So those are just for scale. And when you go to Colombia, you better eat a lot of passion fruit. So there I am with when I visited some of the farms. And if that's wherever we were able to fit a passion fruit, we did. And if that's not enough or we need more space, then we have to hire a lorry or something bigger to be able to get all the fruits and be able to pick out on them because we might not go back there. Something that I've been looking into is what we know as the speckled passion fruit. So a friend of mine brought me seeds from Hawaii. Like this one is kind of speckled or spotted. Well, let's grow it out. That's our job. And so when we grew it out, it's like, oh, here. It's not fully purple red. It's not fully golden yellow. What is happening here? And so I grew several plants and each one gave me a different shade of spottiness or speckleness around that. And so when we cut it open, it looks like any other passion fruit. So here's a different form. And here it is for comparison with the standard purple and the gold one. And so what happened inevitably, what people did is that they brought the purple and the gold into close proximity, eventually creating the red. And as the people kept growing the red, there was a mutation that kept it from being red and is reverting it back to being golden. And so like, whoa, what happened here? Needless to say, here is a closer scale. And here's a different shade of them. So we have the gold and the purple, and then just an assortment of shades of reddish leading to right in the middle of both of them. And so as I kept traveling, I keep finding all these color mixes amongst the different baskets. Like, oh, so the gene pool is nonetheless contaminated now. And so that's what you're going to find. And the real answer came to me just a year ago when I was in Tijuana and I came across this basket. Like, whoa, what is happening here? Exactly what I've been predicting. I lined them up. Probably all came from one farm. So there's the golden and some of the reddish and then everything in the middle in one basket. So obviously I had to do research. So I purchased the different shades of color because I wanted to see if there was a big difference in the flavor, the sweetness and everything else. So definitely there is the gold here, and then it starts getting darker red until you get to full red. I had to, for educational purposes and research, I did not enjoy eating any of this fruit, but I had to sample all of these fruits just to determine which were the better flavors and or the sweeter ones. And then here in California at Albertsons, I came across this red, like, oh, this is deep red. But what attracted me more is that, oh, this is also very small and cutesy and kind of like an apricot size. And I put it by an apricot for scale. This one is coming from Florida. So it's a red. And then I purchased it for a very high price. It was 3 fruits for $15. So when I purchased it, the cashier asked me, do you really want them? It's like, yes, I do, because I want the seeds. I don't care about the fruit. So it was very expensive. And then I put it here for scale with the purple and the gold, just so that you can see the deep red for this one coming from Florida. And then I found the real size. So the little cutesy apricot size were the runts being sold for just being runty. They're a little bit bigger. So this is the one that I found at a different store, now much bigger, probably better quality and all of that. And so I purchased them nonetheless. So here's where I'm measuring them for scale. I let them wrinkle a little just to see if they got sweeter and they're better, and they're not that good. But I kind of put them here for scale with some of the gold that I grew here in Long Beach. Some of the speckled one, once I let them grow, become older, that's how they turn. The red coming from Florida, and just the purple one that is coming from New Zealand or Australia right now. And for scale, I just took different shots just so that you can see the color and the size. And then I cut open. And so, yes, my speckled one has way more pulp than any of the commercial ones that you would find here. And my gold ones have way more pulp than the commercial ones. So there's my speckled, there's my gold, and here's commercial red from Florida. Here's commercial purple from Australia and New Zealand. So mine are better. And then the real surprise, which was what I was predicting about a year ago in Orange County, I came across this basket, and it was like, okay, well, that's a gold one. Let me buy it. It's mixed with a bunch of others. And it took me just a few days. I didn't try them immediately, but I noticed something. It's not shiny. And so when I brought it back to Long Beach and I had some golden ones growing and fruiting, the real gold is shiny, whereas these ones are kind of dull in color. And so here I put them for scale. So some of the real gold, and then this other forms that are out here. And when I put them here with some of the reds, just for scale. So the gold, the red, and the new gold that I found. The surprising part is that this new gold was sweet. And so for the first time a year ago, I found a sweet golden passion fruit. So then what happens? A gold was mixed with a purple, kind of giving you the red, and then the red started losing its color, kind of lost its red, became yellow, but it kept the sweetness of the purples and the oranges and all that. So it's reverting back to being golden, but now acquiring the sweetness of the purple. So now we have gone a full circle, and now I can safely say that there are golden passion fruits that are going to be good eating fresh out of the vine without having you to pucker your mouth or adding any sugar to it. And so here's the inside, and I am growing the seeds out of this individual. Hopefully the offspring will be sweet as well. We don't know, but I can say that it is now available, and this came from Orange County. I have not seen it anywhere else. However, Ricardo Nursery here in Long Beach has a golden one that he said is also sweet. So I think there's a commercial one that is coming from Thailand or Thailand sweet or something like that. But nonetheless, now there is a sweet golden passion fruit, which a year ago I would have said they were all tart and need some sugar. Now, if we venture away from the standard purple, yellow that you might know, then we have some of the reds. Now, I've known people who have grown this plant for years and have never gotten a fruit. This is where you need to hand pollinate it. And the blue pollen or the pollen from the blue passion flower would be very good for this one. If you hand pollinate it, then you can have an watermelon looking fruit. So it's going to be striped. It's not really going to change color once it matures. So it's always going to keep this nice stripe or watermelon looking. And inside there's going to be pulp, and it's going to be a little bit tart. But nonetheless, it's okay. Not the best. I think it's better with a little bit of sugar. And here's for scale. When I let it wrinkle a little, hopefully they'll be better with some of the common Frederick that you might see out there, and a different form that we'll see later on different passion fruit. And then you have the fragrant granadilla that is commercially available in South America. This is where I was able to grow it here, and we got the fruit. This is from Brazil, and I hate to say that during this time I didn't really care about taking photographs, so I don't have a photograph of the inside, but I can definitely tell you this is a very good passion fruit. And then we have Yucatanensis here with a very dark, deep, dark, almost black fruit, but this one is horrible, so don't eat it. And then we have what you might find in the nursery, your local nursery, as Ruby Glow. It's going to have big vine and big flowers. But once again, you have to hand pollinate it. The pollen from the blue passion flower works very well for this. So here's a fence completely covered with this vine. So there's the fruit next to the flower. And just a few months ago, I was able to finally get it to photograph the fruit, because once again, when I grew this one, I didn't care. So it turns golden in color when it's ready. So here I am holding it for scale. And then this is the inside of it. And it's definitely good, or borderline super yum. So it has a lot of seeds, or the seeds are big. So I'll leave it up to you if you ever venture into this one, but it is a very good one if you want to try something new. And so here's for scale with some of the red ones that I grew. This one came from, I think, Peru, one of my new red ones, and one small gold that we'll talk about later. And then here is that Ruby Glow just for scale. And there's the inside of them. And there's just a different shot. Oh no, this one is next to the golden passion fruit that I also grew here last year. And then if you buy quadrangularis from Home Depot anywhere here, you're going to be getting a hybrid. This is the Kaisneana. It's going to require hand pollination, and it's going to give you a decent size fruit. Here's when you open it. And there's a lot of pulp and big seeds. It's okay. So it's big seeds, so it's kind of bad. The real quadrangularis, or the largest passion fruit, I had to venture out. So this was when my first encounter with it in French Guianas, sat at a market, and there I am holding it for scale. And now in my travels, this is in Colombia. So now I find it everywhere. There it is, just a local market in Colombia. And even at a road stand in Colombia, we were able to find it being sold and offered, no problem. So the seed, the pulp, you can extract them. And there's some of the pulp. And there's where you take out the content of one or two fruits, and it is very, very good. And this one is the one that has a very thick rind. so that if you boil the rind with a little bit of salt, maybe some seasoning, it has the flavor very similar or almost as good as zucchini or marrow or however you want to refer to that. And it's okay unless you're starving. It's not that good. But then in Orange County, Westminster, I had a student who said, oh, my brother-in-law is growing that one and it's called melon. Like, are you sure? Send me a picture. He did. And then I'm like, can I go see it? Because I have never seen it growing here in Southern California. I heard about it, I came across it, but people claim it. And then I finally got proven that in fact, it is grown, it can be grown here. You have to protect it in the winter, especially when it's young. So it is called a tender. But once it's has become woody, then it's going to be safe to grow. And here it is when I was able to finally see the flower and the fruit in Orange County. And there's the flower the first time I came across it. Of course, I had to photograph it. And so I left the fruit behind, but then a week later, my student came back and said, my brother-in-law wants you to have this. And so the fruit was given to me. And so then we definitely sampled it and ate them. And it was very, very good. So that's the fruit. And so in Colombia, I kept asking people like, I heard that this fruit with milk is really good. Is there somebody who can make it for us? And sure enough, there was a lady that took pity on me and made the drink with milk and a little bit of sugar so that I can have my experience. And yes, it is really, really good. And so in one of my trips to Colombia, these are some of the commercial ones that are available or some of the passion fruits that came available, from the regular purple to the reds and the giant ones and the banana that we'll talk about later on. But the surprise was this golden one. So not only is it becoming sweet, it's also becoming huge compared to the giant granadilla or the giant passion fruit in the world. Now it's getting big. And so here I am holding both of them side by side. So I don't doubt that the golden one will keep getting bigger, bigger, bigger. Eventually, it might be the largest passion fruit in the world. But that's another surprise that I did not expect to find something that big, but it's out there. Years ago, I grew the blue passion flower. Here I'm holding the fruit. When it turns color, that's when it's ripened, a little bit yellowish in color. Seed to pulp ratio, a lot of seeds, so it's okay, but too much seeds. A hybrid that came from the Netherlands, Precioso, beautiful color when it ripens into a nice golden. So there's for scale. Inside, seed to pulp ratio, very good flavor. However, the seeds are going to be there, so it's okay, but it's a good one as far as flavor, but just too many seeds. Then somebody gave me this hybrid called Yara that I grew here for years as well. This is how the fruit turns color. That's the inside. A lot of pulp, big seeds. It's okay. And then Maliformes, or a passion fruit that is going to require for you to crack the rind. So it's going to be almost like a macadamia nut. But inside there is definitely some pulp, there's definitely some seeds, and this is definitely super yum. It also sells, and I found it in a nursery in Orange County. So it is being grown, a big one is growing, being grown in Orange County right now, and I've grown it for years here in LA County as well. And a close sister to that is another sweet calabash. Here it is when it matures, and here's for scale with my finger, my hands. There's the inside, and this is also definitely super yum. And then from Eastern United States, we have May apple, wild apricot. Although I went on a hunt for it, I don't think I really found a ripened one. So this one requires more research. I know many people claim or say that they have really good ones. As far as my experience, I didn't find a good one. So, but I'm not giving this one a fair credit right now, because until I go explore Eastern United States during the right season and try different ones and find ones that might be better, we're just going to say it's okay. Some hybrids, incense, that is very popular. It will produce seeds here and there. Not a lot of pulp. It's okay. Or Nigradina here from Venezuela. Even the seeds by a friend who said this is one of the sweetest passion fruits that you're ever going to taste. So there's the fruit with spots when it's green, and those will eventually turn into golden color. And inside, that's how the fruit is going to be. And definitely it is very sweet and it is very, very good. And then the water lemon, here it is for scale. There it is with lots of seeds and juice and pulp. And it's also very, very good. So this one is definitely a must if you want to try a nice sweet passion fruit. And then further research, I found this one from the Fruit and Spice Park in Miami, Florida, or by Miami, Florida. It was growing there on a fence. And I noticed the fruit were not as big as what I had. And they are very good. However, here's the flowers. These are the flowers in the wild from Cuba. And so we have two forms. We have the Cuban form that has smaller fruits, or we have the South America with bigger fruits. And so they're both Laurifolia, but this is where further research needs to be done to really separate them. So there's the fruit for the Caribbean one that is also very good, but it's going to be a lot smaller than the South American one. And there's for scale, the South American one on the right, and the Caribbean one on the left. So very different, but very, very good. It depends on where it came from. And here it is with its close relative, Nigradina, with the speckles, just to show you for scale with the Laurifolia. And then in Mexico, we came across this individual already ripened. And then here's where I grew it many years ago, and it ripened into this nice color. There's the inside, pulp to seed ratio. It's okay, not that good. Actinia is going to have more of a smaller fruit that will turn golden yellow. Here it is when it's ripened. Here it is for scale with on my hand. There it is. And there's where I harvested some when I gave this seminar to the LA, California red fruit growers, and we let them sample them. That's the inside. And this is definitely a very good fruit. Its close sister, elegans, right here. Also small fruit. They'll kind of wrinkle like this when they ripen. Inside, there's pulp and seeds, small seeds. There's for scale, and this is also very, very good. Or Cidifolia, the third sister. Here it is. Now the fruit becomes a little bit bigger. There it is for scale. There's the inside, and that is also very, very good. And so just the three individuals, the three sisters here for scale. Cidifolia, Actinia, and elegans right here, or you can see the difference of the three, but all three of them are very, very good. Then there's going to be some of the what they call the lavender mist passion fruit that will bear a lot of fruit. They're going to be small. They're going to have some pulp and some seeds. They're going to be okay. I will say that I have found one in Peru growing in the desert that is sweeter and a little bit juicy, but it's still not compared to the others. So if you try them, go for it. They're not going to be that good, but it's a passion fruit. What is definitely going to be good in cultivation or in commercial cultivation is going to be the sweet granadilla ligularis. This will now become a passion fruit that comes from the high altitudes, which means that if you want to grow it here in Southern California, you need to plant it in the shade and get the plants into the sun. So they don't like the dry heat of Southern California. They come from the mountains. It's cold. There's always some mist. There's always some wetness. And so we can grow it here only by planting it in the shade and allow the vine to grow into the sun. So if you're successful or you're by the beach where it's temperatures a little bit more regulated, then you can be very lucky to have this individual. So here's in some of my first trips when they were selling it as baby plants. And here is in Michoacan, Mexico, just being sold on a roadside stand. And here's at a market in Mexico. And here's the inside. And this is definitely very, very, very good. So one of the sweetest one, it's not acid, but it's very good to eat fresh. This is commercial production in Colombia. So this entire areas are trellis of passion fruit, almost an entire ocean of that passion fruit. So we were able to visit. So there's the vines. And here's where they were doing a little bit of work. They were pruning them, but we were allowed to go underneath the vines, and we were allowed to eat as many as we could. And so just pick them off of the vine and start eating them. So that's how they are grown commercially and then picked from underneath. And that's the fruit, how it was freshly picked. And so this is in Colombia. It's available in every single market. It's available in every single store. So that's important. And that's how you would eat them. So you would just crack open the skin and then you can eat it like an ice cream. So no need to have a spoon to eat this individual. Or field research, as you visit different areas, you might find some technology. In this case, we found a passion fruit straw. So in Colombia, they developed this specific straw made for passion fruit. So you shake the fruit to loosen the pulp and the rind, and from the rind, and then there's a straw with instructions. Then you stab the fruit, and you just suck away all the pulp from the inside. The tip of that straw has like a little spoon, so that if there's any leftover seed pulp, then you can just scoop it away. But technology, a passion fruit straw is now available in Colombia, and that's important. And for years, I would have to travel Tijuana, south of the border. And in the last 5 years, now this passion fruit is available here in the United States. So they finally are allowing it to come here. So this is in LA County at a local swap meet where they're now selling it. And they went away for Corona. Hopefully they'll be brought back. But now if you want this passion fruit, you can find it grown, not grown, but available locally at some of the ethnic markets. So there's some of the fruits. And a very close sister that we encounter in Ecuador, Palenquensis, keeping in mind that the previous one has had people's influence. So Palenquensis is wild. And so the inside is not going to be as juicy, and it's not as good because its sister has had a lot of selection. And right now, wherever I go in Central and South America, there's different ones. Some of them are bigger, some of them more rind, some of them sweeter. It's just different depending on what seeds they're using. And so here, just for scale, the two sisters, Ligularis, which is the common one, and Palenquensis, which is more of the wild form, is wild sister. You can see a difference in size as well. And then there's going to be the group of banana passion fruits. This will also going to be high altitude, so requiring those roots to be in the shade. Now, they're called banana passion fruit because they'll turn yellow, and if you cluster them together, they look like banana hands, not that they taste like banana. But here is the common banana passion fruit that is grown commercially out there. This is when we first started finding it. So in Ecuador, and there's some of the photographs from our trip to Ecuador. There's for scale, and here's how they look inside. And there's lots of pulps and lots of seeds, but it's not that good. And this is the big surprise, that I have so many people that read online that banana passion fruit is the best, it's delicious, it's super fabulous, and it's not. Eating fresh, it is not good. It's almost bland. However, you add sugar and a little bit of milk to it, and yes, it becomes a very, very good to eat. Then people say, well, you're not growing the real one because the real one is Mollissima and the petals don't reflect as much, and this is the real one. Mollissima, here's the fruit that I got from an expert in these plants from San Francisco because the Bay Area is perfect climate for this individual. And when we look very close, it has very fine hairs, which proves it's the real one. So now I'm trying the real one that people claim is the really good and delicious one. So here's when I cut it open and it looks good. And it was the same. And so I asked this expert in San Francisco, have you ever come across any delicious? Like, no. And so I will caution you, this is not good fresh. Yes, you have to process it. Yes, you have to add a little bit, and then it becomes really good. But do not fall for whatever you're reading out there. The banana passion fruit is super delicious and exciting and amazing. Like, no. But here's in some of the stores, in the markets that when I've seen it being offered for sale. So there's just some more. And in Peru, we came across the market, and I wanted to try, hey, can you prepare for me this banana passion fruit the way you're supposed to, with milk and water? Milk, okay, perfect. Oh. And then water, okay, the way it's supposed to. And yes, it is very good when you add some milk and you add a little bit of butter, not butter, sugar, in a drink. It is absolutely delicious, but not as a fresh fruit. Sometimes being sold a little bit green. Again, it's still good if you're going to process them. Here's a few more in the markets as I found them, and a few that are still wrinkly and ugly, but the inside is still very good. And so my goal, whenever I find this, I'm sampling them because I want to see if there's actually a good fruit that will be good fresh off of the vine or fresh fruit. And I still have yet to come across one. So this is just some for scale. And then here's some that I have grown here just so I can show you some of the banana passion fruit and a few others that I managed to grow. And here's for scale with the common, what you call the Frederick around here. And then I came across Pinastipula here in the Bay Area. Here's the fruit. And then in Peru, I came across when it was ripened. Feel vine ripe, and that's the inside. It's not that good. And then Matthewsi, I grew for many years. So there's the fruit, a lot smaller. There's the inside and the pulp to seed ratio, and it's okay. And then Oaklandia, developed in Oakland, California, being sold by Anis Annuals, produces a lot of fruits by itself. There's the inside, and it's horrible. And then so Rotunda, I was surprised when this gave me a fruit. So there's the inside. There's the pulp and seed ratio, and it's okay. And then Lograni, which is being marketed as the garlic passion fruit by Anis Annuals. And a while back, I had a student who's like, oh, my customer wants this garlic passion fruit because it read a line that it was good and delicious. Like, well, there's one ripening pretty soon. Can you wait a few days and I'll let you have it? So there it is when it's ripened. And needless to say, this student just gulped this fruit away. And within 1 second, he spat everything out. So yes, it has a garlic flavor like with 100 other chemical aftertaste. It's horrible. And so there's the inside. So do not use it. It's disgusting. The person who is claiming that it tastes like garlic has not really sampled it. Otherwise, she would not be saying that this is delicious and it's disgusting. It's horrible. It's beautiful ornamental, but as far as the fruit, don't try it. It's super yuck. From Ecuador, Venusta, I grew here for many years. There's the fruit. When I went to Ecuador, we found it growing in the wild, and it's okay. It needs a little bit more work. And then from French Guiana, we have Gabrieliana that I happen to grow here for many years. So there's the fruit, it's okay. And then this spar here that I grew for a while, that's when it turns color. And there's the pulp to seed ratio, and it's okay. And then Per Grandis from Ecuador, we were also fortunate to find it. So there's the inside, and it's good. So I recommend it if you can find it. And so here is just to recap the many fruits that we came across in Ecuador when we went passion fruit hunting. And then from Brazil, Amethystina, we grew it here for years. Here's the fruit, and we sampled it, and there's a pulp to seed ratio, and it was okay. However, the last of the fruit, I kind of wasn't impressed, and I kind of threw it to the side. And then a few days later, I smelled something fruity around my office. Like, whoa, now it has changed color. Now it's wrinkled. Now it smells very nice. So now it's going to be at its best. So then I cut it open. There's the pulp, and it didn't change anything. So it just smelled nicer, but as far as the fruit flavor, it just was the same. Reflexiflora, here's the fruit for scale. Here is when it starts to ripen. And there's the pulp to seed ratio, and it's okay. Sprucey right here, when it ripens, here's when the fruit ripens, becomes a little wrinkle. There's the pulp to seed ratio, and it's okay. Racemosa, flowers, fruits in racemes. There's as it starts to ripen. There's when it's fully ripened, and it's okay. Or mucronata, a bad pollinated passion vine. There's the fruit that becomes pulp to seed ratio, and that's okay. And Ormunsi from Venezuela, I had a chance to grow this one. There's the fruit as it ripens. There's pulp to seed ratio, not a lot of pulp. Yeah, no, that's good. Or grasselis, which is known as the annual passion fruit. The fruit becomes this deep red color. And inside the fruit, there's when it's fully ripened for scale, there's the seeds completely covered with the pulp, and it's horrible. Now, I was not going to give up on this one, so I decided to eat the red rind, and it's also horrible. So it's actually not horrible. It's just bland. It doesn't taste like anything. But yeah, this is not good. And then membranaceae here growing in the wild. And once again, the literature says edible. Like, oh, that's it, edible. Okay, well, field work. So in Guatemala, we came across the second mountain in Guatemala in Central America, and we found it growing in the wild. There's some ripened fruit, which is unusual, and there's the inside. So there's a pulp to seed ratio, and it's bland. So the person who said it's edible have never tried this. Now, bell apple, this one is commercially grown. This photograph from French Guianas. So there's my first encounter with this passion fruit. So there's the inside, is definitely super good. And then Ambigua, this one is from Chiapas. So I had an opportunity to go to a village in Chiapas where this was growing on top of the tree. And so we asked the lady, hey, can we buy him? And so sure enough, this fellow grabbed this stick and brought him down for me. And so there is this Ambigua individual, and there's for holding it for scale. And there's the inside with lots of pulp. And so here's a close-up of it. And this is definitely very, very good. So Ambigua. And then further research, field work, you gotta do the field work. This one is in Colombia, and this is Ambigua. So on my first trip to Colombia, we saw it. We did not see any ripened fruit. This is in cultivations with the purpose, hope of growing it commercial for exporting it to Europe. So we saw it, we photographed it, yay. Couldn't taste it, couldn't do anything to it. So there's for scale, what they're growing. And then on my second trip, when I presented this talk to my friend who owns a farm and the packing house, he said, what kind of ambigua did you find in Chiapas? Because that does not look like the ambigua here. It's like, what do you mean? So like, we have it over there, let's go see it. So this is that fruit that I showed when it was green. So this is like a couple of years later when they had a ripened individual. It's like, what's wrong with it? Looks good. Well, the inside is a lot. So there's hardly any pulp. So this is not for commercial production. Nobody's gonna buy this. So it could be two very different plants, both being grown under ambigua. So I never seen the flower of either or. So this is more of my field research that I have to go back and continue on. But nonetheless, what is being grown as ambigua in Colombia is very ambiguous. So very small pulp. The flavor is good, but if you have just a spoonful of fruit, it's not worth it. So needless to say, I don't think this is going to make it into the commercial market. And then from French Guiana, we found Garki, and I was going to take a trip, and this wasn't ripening quickly enough. So I had to put it in a bag. Hopefully it will land on the bag and the possums will not eat it. So when I came back, the fruit was still good. So it started ripening. So I got really happy. And then the inside, there's no pulp. So it's kind of dry. So it's just a little film of pulp surrounding every single seed. Well, that's not good. So needless to say, that is not edible. So kind of disappointment. So I waited many months to try it. But here's just a recap of some of the fruits that you normally find in Colombia. So some of the large yellows, some of the large red, the small purples, the sweet ones, and or the banana passion fruits. There's when I open them so that you can photograph them for you to see the inside. There is a collection of the different passion fruits that I have grown here in Southern California, from Yara to the gold to the speckled to some of the Frederick looking thing to some of the more unusual individuals. And here's a few more of those tiny golden ones. And here's what I took to one of the California refer growers, a West LA chapter, when I gave them a talk, and they coincided with me having some fruits for them to sample. And because this is an aphrodisiac talk, and when I gave it the first time, some fellow came over like, I came because I wanted to learn about the aphrodisiac part. Like, well, because passion fruit is such a wonderful fruit for you to eat. Having a lot more vitamins and minerals are going to make you stronger, and it's going to make you perform better. Not only that, but it's also like any other fruit. My motto is that every fruit is a superfruit, including passion fruit. So yes, eating more passion fruits will definitely help with health, wellness, and just being vitamins and minerals. So antioxidants prevents things. There's more research being done about passion fruits, but nonetheless, if you eat more vitamins, minerals, you eat more fruits, you're going to be healthier. And that would be the part of the aphrodisiac part that I had to include because somebody put me on the spot that I did not include that. And just here's the vitamin, mineral value, and all of these things that you find online, because many of these labs that are growing them commercially have already done a lot of this research. And so with that in mind, yes, grow and eat a lot more passion fruit. And with this presentation slide from South America, I will thank you, and we can address any questions that you may have. If you want to raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask away. Oh, sorry. And the last one is a list of the super yum, because that was another thing that I kept getting asked. So the top list is all the super yum passion fruits that I would say are good, fresh, out of the vine. And the bottom ones are going to be super yum that you might need to process them a little. But otherwise, this would be the list that everybody wants. I don't care about your talk. I just want to have the list of all the super yum passion fruits that are the best ones to eat. And so I had to add it at the end. So with that, does anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question?
I do, Jorge. Hi, thank you. This is Leanne Stone talking.
Hello.
Thank you so much. This was so fascinating and delightful. Good grief. I did so much research trying to find the passion fruit that I had in Medellin. And it was my favorite fruit in the whole world. They had them in, the little round, it's the ligularis, right? They had them at the hotel in a bowl. And I said, what is this? And they told me what it was. They told me just peel it, just open a little hole and suck it out. And I had 4 or 5 of those every day for the 5 days that I was there, and I have not had one since. And I have been searching for a plant. I've been searching for what the name of it is, and now you have identified it for me. So my question is, where the heck, which what do you call it? Swap meet did you go to where they had it? Because I want to go there.
So right now, I don't think they have it, but where I've seen it available are 2 places. That's Alameda Swap Meet in LA County. However, I've also seen them at Northgate Gonzalez, which is more of a bigger chain supermarket. I've also seen them as well.
Northgate something?
Northgate Gonzalez, which is a Latin American supermarket.
Okay.
And they're out throughout. I don't know if they're in Orange County, but I know they're in LA County, and there's one here in Long Beach, or several here in Long Beach. And then those plants are being offered for sale by Ricardo's Nursery. So if you call Ricardo's Nursery, he has big ones ready to fruit. And I know he has grown them for years. So I know he has them because I refer everybody to him because he has them.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
And how do we eat them? Like an ice cream? I think we stopped we saw the vines growing. We stopped and we saw just people harvesting. And then when we started talking, I just saw this lady just peeling it. And I was like, holy crap, I've never seen anybody eat it like that. So that's how I copied. But that's field work. You copy how you can eat the fruit, because I used to eat them with a spoon and all that. Like, you don't need that.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned, by watching somebody else in the field.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else has a question?
Okay.
You gotta unmute yourself and then you can ask away.
Jorge, some
Yes.
of the questions people submitted when they register.
I think I answered them all.
Okay.
The propagation one, you have an entire seminar about that.
Okay, so I'll send.
From cuttings. That's how I started with passion fruit. So that's going to work for that.
Okay. And what's the best place to get fruit?
Good luck. You have to look around. Unfortunately, if you try to buy them wholesaler, as somebody asked, you're going to be paying $40 for a box, and I don't guarantee they're going to be good. What I would recommend is just if you find some fresh fruits, you don't have to process the seeds. Just take the seeds and plant them immediately, pulp and everything. You grow one plant is going to give you enough passion fruits for your entire season and your friends and everybody else. So my suggestion, if you want to have large quantities, unfortunately, you're going to have to grow yourself. Otherwise, if you go to some of those standard markets, it's going to be a very high price for a single fruit, and most of them are not going to be good. It's going to be very dry and very small, and you're going to be paying $4 or $5 a piece. So in this case, it is way better to grow your own. And I hate to say that most of these things that I've shown are things that I've grown for years, and how I get them, however I can. If I find the seeds, great. If I find a plant and I can take cuttings, great. When people send me photograph of they went to this nursery and they saw this plant growing, like, let me go check and see if they have it, and then I can purchase it and reclaim it or grow it myself. But it's kind of my research whenever I travel. If I come across something potentially good, then we need to bring it into cultivation. But there is no real, to say like a real good place where you can buy all these passion fruits. Nah, I wish. That would make my job so easy. But I know that many members have different fruits around here, and I'm sure some of them have been successful with growing something more unusual. But there's no easy answer to that one. Any other question?
Let me see.
Jenny Hernandez asks, do you sell any plants?
We don't right now. So perhaps in the future, I am starting to grow some passion fruit. I'm trying to regain some of them. But like everything else, if you grow some fruit, there's going to be a limit of space. So as I grow the next one or the new one, I have to kind of, or some of them died and I just don't replace them. So I am starting to grow some from seeds. So maybe in the near future, I may have them available, but at the present time, we don't, because Corona messed up everything. And I'm trying to barely start getting a few of them out there.
So I have a question, and this is, I find it really interesting that you were talking about the good tasting purple passion fruits, because we've had actually, it just died during COVID, actually, for a couple decades, a big, huge passion vine, and it's a purple kind, and we love it, and I love the smell of it. I love cutting them open. I love the scent, but there's no way in heaven I would ever take a spoonful and eat it. It's just so sour, and I've never had a purple passion fruit that's sweet, or that's
then that's the one that you have. So because they're all grown from seeds, you're going to have variability. And this also brings to this talk, because sometimes when I'm growing a bunch of seeds, I am very happy and very lucky if I get one plant to flower and fruit for me. And so I know that some of this that I'm saying, they're not good. Perhaps I'm not getting the real good one. So that's why this is all for interpretation. And I know that people may have a different opinion, but you know what? I'm basing this on whatever I'm able to get. So the purple one, most of what I have found and I tasted, they are good. Now, if you're saying it's really sour, you probably have a seedling that happened to not be sweet. But my suggestion is, wherever you see a purple one, just try it. And I can tell you right now, the ones that I'm starting to grow are the New Zealand passion fruit is purple that I got them from a store, and they were not tart at all. My problem is that I have sensitive teeth, so anything sour, I'm suffering. And so this purple one from New Zealand was very sweet. I was able to eat and collect the seeds without any problem. So those are the ones that I'm growing there. So maybe in the future, I'll let you have some of those and you can give them a try. But my suggestion is, if you find that sweet one that you really like, then take the seeds and grow them out. And then that's probably going to give you that sweet one that's going to be a lot more palatable than the purple one that you have. Regarding the lifespan, most passion fruits or passion vines are going to have an average lifespan of about 8 to 10 years. So you grow them from seeds, you may get fruit on the first year, and then a lot of yields in the next years. And then as time goes by, like everybody else, age slows us down. And then in about 8-10 years, you'll see a decline and then eventually dies. By that time, in about 6-7, if you want to replace it, then that's when I suggest that you take the seeds from one of the fruits, plant them so that as the old vine moves on to passion fruit heaven, then you have to replace it. But I think you just gotta try around. If you have not had other purple passion fruits, just sample different one, and I can guarantee you there's going to be a difference and variable in the sweetness of them.
super. Thank you.
Another question.
Well, I would mention too that the people should check out Ricardo Nursery for passion fruit.
Yes, so Ricardo Nursery has Taiwanese yellow and the sweet one, and definitely the ligularis, or the sweet passion fruit. And he has a few more.
And that's in Long Beach.
Correct.
What's the cross streets about?
It's Atlantic and the 91 freeway. So right out of the 91 freeway on Atlantic.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my wife has actually helped, she's had him out there grafting cherimoyas and different things.
yeah.
So. So let's see, any other questions anybody had that's different in the chat?
Well, so one more question, since nobody else is asking questions. So is maracuya and granadilla, are they just different regional terms?
No, they're different plants. So
Okay.
maracuya is going to be the golden passion fruit. Granadilla is going to be the ligularis, the sweet passion fruit. So as you venture into different parts of the world, so maracuja, that's the Brazilian name. That is also adopted in Central and South America. And then you have lilikoi, which is the same one for the golden in Hawaii. And then you have marquesa in Indonesia, and you have marcusa in Suriname, and you have a parcha in the Caribbean. So all those are just colloquial names for the golden passion fruit. But granadilla has traditionally been for the ligularis or the sweet passion fruit that you ate in Colombia.
Okay, super.
And did you?
Well, having said that, in Mexico they call it granada china. But anyway, that's just colloquial names. But they're two different plants.
And did you cover how small of a container can grow passion fruit in?
As I always suggest to people, the bigger the better. Minimum 5 gallon, but bigger is better.
Okay. I usually recommend like half a plastic barrel.
The bigger container, the better. If you can get them in the ground, best, but the biggest container that you can possibly find is going to be better for the passion fruits.
Oh, somebody asked, what about vine space? That probably varies.
My suggestion is that you give them whatever space you want. So if you give them a fence and you say you can only grow 10 feet away, then once they start growing out of their designated area, then you can prune them back. My suggestion is plant them, let them grow wild, because that's where you're going to get your flowers and fruit for the season. And at the end, when you have harvested your last fruit, then you can start to prune them back to bring them back into their designated space. When you prune them, I'm going to also recommend that you cut half of the vine that you need to remove and allow it to recover from the shock. And once you see some new growth coming from those cut areas, then you go ahead and cut the other half. Because it is known, and even though people say, oh, you cannot kill it, I've known folks who cut their vine severely and they will kill it. So cut half, let it recover from the shock, cut the other half, and they should be fine. But my suggestion is that you, as the grower, you give the vine its designated space, whatever that is, 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, 100 feet, let it grow over your tree. That's fine. However you want, wherever you want the vine to grow, and prune it back once it has started to grow out of its designated space. Anything else?
I think you covered pretty much everybody's questions.
So then let me stop recording if it's okay with everybody. So,
Well, okay, and then before you stop recording, I'm gonna remind that the video will be posted on YouTube later for people to view.
great. I'll send you the link once I get it.
Okay, cool.
All right, let me
Thanks.
stop recording.
Yeah.